Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the senior fireside chat, talking and sharing across the generational gap today. We have June, who will from TalkTheGap, who will be sharing the presentation today. He's going to go a little bit over about what TalkTheGap is, and then he's going to turn to the audience and see get some input for you. But before we get started, let's just go over how the virtual workshop, which is going as much trying to be a discussion as much as possible, just how the format will go today. So first, June will be here and he'll be talking about TalkTheGap, as I just stated. And then if you have any questions throughout, we really encourage you to submit the questions and the Q&A, and he will be looking at those during the presentation or at the end of the presentation, depending on how it falls. If you don't want to submit your question by typing it in, please use the raise hand function and we will be able to let you speak. But without further ado, June, who is a technology room volunteer for the Senior Center. Haven't seen him in a while, unfortunately, but he will be here to share his project on how he's been keeping busy. So I'll hand it over to you, June.
Yeah, thanks, Alejandra. So yeah, like Alejandra said, I'm a technology room volunteer at the senior center, but because of COVID, unfortunately, we can't really do the in-person thing anymore. So I want to talk to you about Talk the Gap, which is a project I started, and I'll actually share my screen for this. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see my screen and the website. So Talk the Gap is a project I started, and its goal is sort of to talk and help each other across the generational gap between people my age and seniors. Now, I want to give sort of like the backstory of why I started this project. So, I entered the United States when I was about 5 months old, give or take, and my grandma was always there with me when we moved, and she would visit us very frequently from Korea. And we formed a special bond together because my dad was always super busy. My mom was always super busy. So it was just like my grandma and I, and we were very close. But then over time, as I grew older, she wasn't able to come as much. So her like annual visits turned into once every 2 years, once every 3 to 4 years. So a gap was sort of created in a relationship. Now, I wanted to fill that gap somehow, so I started volunteering at senior centers, and especially the Mountain View Senior Center. And it was great, I felt like I was helping my own grandma, and I felt sort of that bond, and it sort of felt like I was filling that gap between us. But then I noticed some things such as issues that many seniors unfortunately face, which is like trouble with technology or loneliness or difficulty finding a job. And after like pondering on this issue a while, I've realized that a lot of modern society or people my age, they don't really seem to put a lot of value or focus on seniors, and they can often find it hard to find a platform to have their voice heard. So I decided to create this website and start this project in order to fight that issue. So what we do is we just have these like recorded online talk shows with seniors, and through that they can share their wisdom, life stories, or whatever they want the younger generation to hear. And it spreads their message and it helps spread their value. So I wanted to walk everyone through this website. So if you look at the very top here where I've highlighted my cursor right here, the website URL is talkthegap.com. And then once you click on that, it will take you to a web page that will look something like this. And here are a bunch of different chats or online talk shows that we've done in the past. For example, there's one here with Carol Wagonist, and she talks a lot about intermittent fasting. She offers tips, her own experiences. Here we have one from Kevin Casey. He talks a lot about dealing with unexpected life events. He talks about morality. We also have another one here by Claire Mullen. And she also talks about perseverance. And she shares her story about how she dealt with a severe brain injury, is a TBI, traumatic brain injury. And she talks about how she was able to overcome that and what she found. Also, there's some personal stuff as well. For example, in this post here, I share my secret kimbap recipe, which is a Korean dish. And yeah, so let's actually take a look at one of these. So if you find one that interests you and you click on it, you're taken to the web page itself. And here, there'll be a video right here, which is the video to the actual talk. Now, if you scroll to the bottom, there's a quick little introduction or description, and then we can, if you click on this big red button where my cursor is, we can actually watch the video. Now, I won't show the whole thing right now. I'll just show like a quick 30 seconds of the video somewhere in between.
By things that really have substance and value, relationships and personal experience and achievements that have really contributed something and have made a difference in your little sphere of influence. Those are the things that.
Okay, so that one, it's a bit out of context, I know, but in this episode, Vivian here was talking about sort of jobs in your life, like what your career might be, and how to find happiness in your career, and how to know if you've fulfilled sort of your life's goals. Or let's put it this way. So many people my age, we are worried about sort of finding a sustainable job and making lots of money and being rich and famous, and that's sort of a topic many people my age are focused on. But then there's an issue, like, even if you have money and you find a lucrative job, are you happy with it, or will you find happiness out of it? And that's sort of what Vivian here was talking about. She was explaining sort of where to find the balance between, making money to sustain yourself, and how to find happiness. And yeah, so that's generally what we do. And like I said, there's a bit of other personal stuff that I put on there too. Like if you want to look at my trips to uh national park, there's right there. And there's also this one, which I'm kind of proud of. It's it's a video of me practicing taekwondo, which is a Korean martial art. And this video here is of something called the bottle cap challenge. It's where you hold up a water bottle and then you kick the cap off. So real quick, I just wanted to show it to you. So yeah, the website is just, it's like a huge gathering place. It's a playground. It's where we can share our stories, our experiences, or whatever we like. And the format of these online talk shows is really casual. So it's a bit like an interview that you might see on TV, but way more casual. But like if you're having a conversation with your friend or with your family member. Now, now that I've shared my screen, I actually wanted to open the floor up to everyone here and ask if any of you guys wanted to participate. I have a couple of questions here that I've written. So the first one was, well, if you are interested, can you please share a bit about yourself? So, any takers?
So as June, before we get started on the Q&A portion of this, I just want to let you know that this recording, this workshop has been recorded.
Oh, okay.
With The hopes to be put it on the Talk the Gap website. If you submit a question in the Q&A, it is anonymous. We won't be saying your name. However, if you do raise your hand and you want to talk verbally, you will be able to hear that in the recording. But we want to, this really is, just as you saw on his website, he really wants to make it just an open dialogue, fun, very much on the recreation side of things, which is what the Senior Center loves to bring. So keep that in mind when you're asking questions, which I do have one for you, June, if you don't mind.
Yep, sure, of course.
So how long has the Talk the Gap project for you? How long has it been since you started it?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So it's been many months. So originally, when I was still working at the senior center, the issue of senior loneliness and not having a platform to speak their voice was dawned on me. And throughout my time at the senior center, I was always contemplating, how can we address this, or what can I do to make a change. So I would say, like, it started in the summer of junior year, I think, because even though I didn't like actually start coding the website or anything like that, the thought of trying to make something like this was always in the back of my head. And then as I got toward this recent summer, that's when I actually started physically, like building the website, taking care of the servers, reaching out to senior centers and reaching out to people. So yeah, it's been several months. So yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Awesome. That's good to know. That's pretty awesome. And just like you were saying through there, is this something, a project that you've done on your own? Do you have help from fellow friends, or how is this project run? Just by you, or?
So I'm on the face of the channel. Like when I do the interviews, it's usually me doing them. But just like how an online talk show may have the host, there's a whole team behind the scenes that without it would be impossible. So when I first started, I recruited a bunch of my friends. I just like, come on, let's get together and do this. And I started building a team of people that I knew would be dedicated to the cause, and they've helped out, such as by finding people, giving suggestions, sharing what they like, sharing what they didn't like. And it's definitely a team effort. And additionally, it's just not people my age, but I've been reaching out to countless senior centers, like the Mountain View Senior Center. And they've been huge help. Like, we have 19 participating senior centers, I think. And they're so helpful. They, like the Mountain View Senior Center, they like put the Talk the Gap information on their bulletin, and they allow us to have events or webinars just like this. They help spread the word, they help find people. It's a tremendous help. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy. Like, if I remember correctly, I think I sent a couple hundred of emails to countless senior centers, and only a few of them respond, but that's life. And that's like in business too. If you know how Apple was founded, the founder Steve Jobs, he would cold call countless thousands of people, and just a teeny tiny portion of them would respond. But that tiny portion that responds is what makes the huge difference. So yeah, I'm eternally grateful for my friends, for people like Alejandra who make this happen, and for the senior centers and the seniors themselves. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And thank you for the kind words for that. It definitely sounds like a team effort, and it sounds like you've really persevered, and you really just want to get it out there because you want to help give and bring joy to those as much of all ages, really. But you're looking in a age group that could have social isolation.
Right, definitely. Yeah, and especially with COVID, it's gotten much worse. Like, it's very like dangerous to even like do something such as go outside or grab lunch with friends. So definitely, social isolation is a huge issue. And I think that's one of the beauties of technology is that if we can utilize technology properly, we can sort of do our best to overcome this isolation, and that's definitely one of the goals here as well. So, yeah. Now, I do want to open up to the floor. If So this is gonna be sort of an icebreaker. So if anyone's interested, please let me know in this question. What is your most embarrassing moment in your life? You know, if you could explain it, how did you overcome it? What was it like? And if no one's interested, I can start off first, but I'll just give it a couple of seconds just in case anyone wants to share.
Why don't you start it off, and then we'll see if the ball gets turned in.
Awesome. Okay. So, it was several years ago, maybe even a decade ago. I went shopping with my parents at IKEA. So where I live, there's an IKEA about like 20 minutes that way somewhere. And in most IKEAs, there's this little cafeteria area. And on my IKEA, it was on like the second or third story. So we do our shopping, you know, and then we go to this cafeteria and we order some food and we're eating. Now, I was a little child back then, full of energy, so I ate faster than everyone else, and I wanted to have some fun, you know, maybe run around. And I look out and I see a balcony, and I'm like, wow. So I run over to the door, I slam on it as hard as I can. It was one of those pushing doors. I slam it open, and then the alarms go crazy, and I take a step back, and I'm like, whoa, what happened? Turns out that was an emergency fire exit only, which I triggered. So everyone in the cafeteria and like over 100 people, they're just staring at me. I'm just on the ground. And, you know, I'm a little kid, so I start panicking. I'm like, am I going to get arrested? Am I going to go to jail? Is this the end of my life? So, yeah. And then the rest of the time, we returned to go do a little bit more shopping. But the whole time I was just panicking, you know, trying to hide behind the shopping cart like this. And nothing happened. I'm still here, so yeah. That was my moment.